My name is Mary Eleanor Power, and I am the Director of Marketing Communications for Dalhousie University's Faculty of Open Learning and Career Development. And I am delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, and also would like to introduce you to today's host of our webinar, Raquel Noboa, and I'll share a little bit about Raquel. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that Dalhousie University is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We are all treaty people. And so a little bit about Raquel before we get started. So Raquel is originally from Spain and moved to Ireland at the age of 17. Raquel has worked in the hospitality industry all her life up until 2017, when she branched out to found 50 Shades Greener to fulfill her vision to help create a carbon-conscious society so we can build a greener future for tomorrow's generation. So welcome, Raquel. Thanks so much for joining us. I see a number of people who are coming in already, so thanks so much for taking the time to attend today's webinar. And without further ado, Raquel, I'll pass it on to you. Actually, sorry, before I pass it on to you, I will just ask that if people have a question, we'll save some time at the end. You'll notice at the bottom of your screen, this is just a housekeeping item, you'll see a chat button. If you have questions, feel free to add them there. I would ask that just when you open up that screen, you'll notice that your question will default only to show to the host and the panelists. And I would just ask that you click on everyone so that everyone can see your questions. We'll certainly repeat them if you didn't happen to do that, and make sure that everyone knows the questions that are being asked. So as well, just one final point, I will be sharing the links to some of the courses that Raquel will be mentioning today. And those are courses that you can take through our faculty that are instructed by the staff at 50 Shades Greener. And then later today, we'll be sending around a recording of the webinar and also the links to those courses. So that email will be in your inboxes before the end of the workday. So there we go. Now, sorry for the delay. Raquel, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. If you don't mind, I am actually going to turn off my video as well, just for during the presentation. I always like to be face to camera to say hello. But as a company, we always strive to reduce our carbon emissions in every single one of our business activities. And turning off your video during an online meeting can reduce the carbon emissions of that meeting by 96%. So I'll turn it back on maybe for the Q&A, because sometimes it is nice to see faces, but it's not required during the presentation. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay. So welcome to our Environmental Sustainability Workshop. My name is Raquel Noboa. I'm the founder and CEO of 50 Shades Greener. We're an Irish-based environmental education company specialized in sustainability for hospitality, for schools, and for the built environment in general. So full disclosure before we start, I am not an environmental scientist. But the fact is that you don't need to know everything about the environment to actually be able to do something about it. I've worked in hospitality all my life, and I never knew anything about sustainability until 2012. Now, the good news is that when it comes to engaging with sustainability in the built environment, you might be surprised that with just a few practical actions and behavioral change, you can achieve a lot. Now, the only trick here is that you need to want to do it, and that is really all it takes. Now, so what we're going to discuss in today's webinar is an introduction to environmental sustainability, resource efficiency in business, and what does that mean? The basic steps, how to get started. I will introduce you to what I call the 50 Shades Greener method, forming a winning green team and the qualities of a green manager. The next steps, where to go once you have started. And then we will have Q&A at the very end where you can ask me anything you want. So I always like to start the environmental conversation with our choices. Because at the end of the day, unless we individually make a choice, nothing is going to change. And the way I see it, we all have two clear choices. We can continue living our life as it is right now, so continue the exact same way and not make any changes. Or we can continue living life as it is, but with an added commitment to reduce our environmental impact. Now, you might be surprised that to me, there is absolutely no wrong answer here. There is no wrong choice you can make. I would never criticize anyone for choosing option one. I spent many years of my life working with option one. However, now that I know what I know, I choose option two. And I choose option two because I want to look back at my life in 20 years from now and know that I personally did everything I could, that I adopted changes to my lifestyle and my workplace that helped me reduce my impact on the environment. But that's just me, and I don't really expect everyone to feel the exact same. That choice is individual to each person. Now, if you decide to choose option two, the great thing is that the changes you need to make are not going to cost you any money. They only require your time and attention and to be open to learn. Now, as an educator, since I founded 50 Shades Greener, I did ask myself some questions, like what was my turning point? What happened during my career in hospitality that led me to make these massive changes in my lifestyle? And most importantly, I asked myself, how can I recreate that turning point for other people? My own green journey started when I learned actually I had to calculate my workplace carbon emissions back in 2012. And I could see firsthand that our small efforts were creating great results, as the carbon footprint of the hotel was reducing slowly but surely. I always thought that calculating carbon emissions was something that scientists and governments did, not regular people like me. But when I learned how to do it, that's what hooked me. I felt empowered to do more because all of a sudden I realized I could. Now, at the time I was working as the sales and marketing manager at Hotel Doolin in the west coast of Ireland. Our general manager actually came to work one day and told me that he wanted to run the greenest hotel in Ireland and appointed me as the hotel's green manager. I am very honest to admit that I had no idea or no clue what I meant, what I needed to do, what a green manager responsibility was. So I signed up for courses, I read articles and blogs and attended endless workshops. Information back then about business sustainability was not as mainstream as it is now. But once I figured out how to calculate our carbon emissions, that's the point when I realized that if I could measure them, I could manage them. And that's the first time I learned that I had that choice I spoke about a couple of minutes ago. I could continue doing what I was doing, or I could try and reduce our environmental impact by reducing our carbon emissions. Now, there are many different areas to look at when it comes to sustainability in our lives. And to be honest, sometimes I think that we become a bit confused by the word sustainability because it means different things to many different people in an economic, social, and environmental way. At 50 Shades Greener, we have looked at ways that we can implement environmental actions which link and support the UN Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 13, climate action. All of our programs work on reducing our environmental impact through the reduction of carbon emissions. Goal number 4, quality education, providing online training and support with our actionable programs for students to implement effective changes to reduce their carbon emissions. And goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Our programs promote behavioral change. Our ethos is about taking personal responsibility around our use of resources and change all the things that you can change within your own life. Now, there are 3 things that every human and business in the world could manage better to reduce their impact on the environment, and in particular within the hospitality sector or the built environment, homes, schools, colleges, any building really. And those 3 things are the energy that we use, the waste that we produce, and the water that we use. At 50 Shades Greener, we always speak about environmental sustainability, which simply means reducing your environmental impact. And for businesses, this means becoming efficient with our resources. So what does resource efficiency mean? It is simply adjusting our own behavior around our use of utilities, using only the right amount of energy and water that we need to operate the business and producing as little waste as we possibly can. It's quite simple. Now, using only what we have to use. This may sound quite obvious, but the reality is that we have become a society of resource overuse. Electricity, oil, gas, water, they're readily available to us, no questions asked. We can use as much of it as we want if we're willing to pay for it. And I feel that we have lost that connection between these resources and their environmental impact, how our use of resources is affecting the planet. Now, efficiency can be achieved with training and education by implementing comprehensive procedures and measuring our business data. Data is a key component to any business green journey. It is the only tool that we have to compare our progress and to ensure that our green actions are working. So in terms of data, we need to look at where, which is the building, the workplace, or even our homes. The what is the energy, water, and waste from those buildings. Who might be our staff, customers, and suppliers. The when is when we use utilities, and why are they being used? So the pressing question most people ask me is, how do I get it started? I want to be more sustainable, but I don't know how. I also asked myself that question back in 2012. I had gathered all this knowledge about how we overuse utilities, and I needed to design the methods that would not only allow me to reduce them, but also to prove that my progress, my green actions were indeed working. So the 50 Shades Greener method is what we apply to manage our resources efficiently. In fact, we apply it to all of our sustainability programs, including social sustainability. And it has 4 phases: measurement, observation, implementation, and monitoring and reporting. So let me just tell you a little bit about each of them phases. The measurement phase, it simply means taking a stock of where we are right now in terms of our business environmental impact. It is the very first step on any green journey, and it will help us establish our business green key performance indicators. These are the data figures that we will use in the future to benchmark and ensure they are indeed reducing over time. Now, green key performance indicators are the energy, water, waste, and carbon emissions your business generates per person, per customer, or if you're, say, for example, a food producer, it could be per kilogram of product. Now, while it might sound complicated to begin with, all the information you need to establish those indicators is readily available in your business utility bills, so it is much easier than it seems. Then we move on to the observation phase. Once we have a clear measurement of our utilities, we need to start observing how we actually use those utilities every day. Where and how much water are we using? How does it compare to good practice standards, for example? And most importantly, how does our team, the people that we work with, behave around water use within our building? When and where we use energy? And can we say with certainty that our team is using that energy efficiently? And when it comes to waste, do you know with clarity what waste is your workplace creating? Do you know what the most disposed of items are? All those questions need to be answered throughout the observation phase. And with the combined results of the measuring and observation phases, we come to implementation, which simply means writing a green action plan of activities that we're going to commit to perform over the coming weeks and months. Green action plans will vary from business to business, as we all work in different operational environments. However, the common denominator is that we need to find ways to reduce energy, waste, and water based on the results of our measurement and observation phases. Now, the last phase is quite obvious. We need to continue monitoring our green key performance indicators to ensure that our green actions are working and to be able to report back to management, the green team, and the business customers. And this is pretty much the green manager's responsibility. The 50 Shades Greener method is the foundation of what we teach and the easiest way to manage any building's carbon footprint. It all starts here, and it is absolutely necessary in the process of running a greener business. So let me show you a practical example of how we apply the 50 Shades Greener method. I've always learned myself much better with practical examples. When I was a green manager at Hotel Doolan, I had completed my measurement phase and I knew that our energy key performance indicator was in the kitchen. That was the kilowatt hours of energy that we used per customer per day. Now, during the observation phase, I noticed that our breakfast chef used to arrive every morning at 6 a.m. and he would turn every single machine on, even those machines that he did not need until much later in the day. Now, when I asked him about it, he said that was simply his routine, what he had done all his life as a chef. He would turn everything on just to be ready for a busy day ahead. And quite honestly, who could blame him? He had never seen our electricity bills or our energy bills, and nobody had ever told him to do anything different. But during the observation phase, I always knew that our main oven used 38 kilowatt hours of electricity, and that our electricity unit price was 15 cents per hour. So if we were to turn off that oven for just 1 extra hour a day, every single day, we would reduce our electricity usage by nearly 14,000 kilowatts in 1 year, which would also save us 2,000 euros in 1 year. That's in around 3,000 Canadian dollars. Now, this was just one machine off for an extra hour a day, which may seem like a really small thing to do, but it can generate a really good result. So, of course, I sat down with the head chef to devise their implementation plan. We looked at all equipment individually, their kilowatt rating, and when were machines really needed to be turned on to assist the kitchen's daily operations. Now, by doing this, we realized that our main oven was not needed until about 10 a.m. in the morning, and many other kitchen appliances could also be let off for longer periods of time. So that small action allowed us to generate savings of over 10,000 euros in 1 year. It's nearly 14,500 Canadian dollars. We became energy efficient by simply changing our own behavior around the use of our equipment. Now, just for a quick recap on the process, we had measured our energy use. We had observed our current chef's behavior around the use of equipment in the kitchen. We then devised a training plan for our chefs, and we were able to compare and report our energy KPI to ensure that the process had been successful. Now, in a hospitality building, energy is consumed at an enormous rate. If you're to put all of your energy costs together for a year, it can actually be the second largest cost to your business. And so it is well worth financially to make an effort to reduce it. We consume energy through our equipment, our lighting, and even our heating system. And every minute adds up. Every time we use energy, it adds up on a total bill at the end of the year. So let's look at waste. It is actually no secret also that the hospitality industry in general produces a huge amount of waste. And it's particularly troublesome around food waste and single-use items. And I say items because regardless if they're plastic or not, single-use should be a thing of the past. And we could discuss food waste all day. In fact, it actually requires its own workshop. But I just want to show you how easy it is to apply the 50 Shades Greener method to our waste production. So once I had measured Hotel Doolan's waste, I knew that landfill posed the biggest problem for us. And so I started observing our landfill bins for a couple of weeks. Now, I totally understand watching bins is not the most pleasant job. I personally hated it, and I'm sure my co-workers thought I was a bit crazy. But without having a full understanding of what we're actually putting in the bin, we can never actually make a plan to reduce that waste. Now, by doing this, I realized that our complimentary bedroom sleepers were taking up 2 wheelie bins of landfill every single week. I spoke to the general manager, and this was kind of a hard decision because we didn't want to downgrade our customer experience. So instead, we decided to do a trial. We took the sleepers out of 10 of the bedrooms in the hotel, and we left a note in the room explaining why we had done this. We explained that we were on a journey to reduce our waste production, but that if during their stay, the guest wanted to have the disposable sleepers, all they had to do was ring reception and they would be brought up to them. After a month, we reviewed our results. Only one guest had requested sleepers, and 73% of the rest of the guests had commented in reception what a great initiative it was. And even better, that we had made them think about all those disposable items that are taken for granted so often in hotel bedrooms. After this exercise, the decision was much easier. We changed in all of the rooms, we took the sleepers and left the exact same note. Environmental actions need to make sense to your business. Nobody should be asking you to downgrade your customer experience or change your business models. But when in doubt, it is wise to try something and allow your guests and other stakeholders of the business to make that decision with you. And lastly, let's trial water. Now, on average, an employee uses your restroom up to 3 times per day. And over the working year, this can amount to 6,000 liters of water per employee. And that's just your employees. So let's look at how we apply the 50 Shades Greener method. Let's say that we have measured our water use and that we have observed that our public restrooms cisterns use 10 liters of water per flush. We have 2 sets of public restrooms with 5 cubicles each, so a total of 10 cisterns. In a busy spell, it is estimated that 485 people use the toilet every day. And we assume that each person will use the toilet once as an average. Now that means that in one day, we're using 4,850 liters of water just to flush the toilets on those public cisterns. Now, to reduce water use, we can buy Hippo bags, which cost under €3 each. So it's a very small investment of €28. The Hippo bags are going to reduce water use in each cistern by 2 liters. Now, this small action will reduce water consumption by 970 liters in just one day, which equates to 354,000 liters of water in 1 year, which in financial terms can equate to savings in Ireland of over €1,000 in 1 year. This is just water savings from our public restroom cisterns. Imagine the possible savings for a 200-bedroom hotel with 200 bathrooms. Reducing our use of resources is not only good for the planet, it is also good for the business bottom line. Okay, so let's talk about another important part of a business green journey, which is, of course, a strong green team led by a green manager. Like any project, a green program requires a team to drive it. So let's start with the green manager. The green manager is really one key element for the success and survival of a green program. Having a skilled and passionate green manager is paramount, but they must also have the ability to lead and motivate their co-workers. They need to be confident in what they're teaching others and ensure that communication is always very clear and ongoing across all departments. Time is crucial to their ability to do their job. Now, if someone is nominated as the green manager and is already a really busy operations manager, then they're not going to have time to implement the green program. To be successful, there needs to be a time commitment, and this might vary from business to business, but we've seen with most of our students that it would take between a half a day and a full day per week at a minimum. Now, this role needs to be taken seriously by the employers and top management, which we're still seeing a bit of a lack of. It is a role that requires dedication and commitment. So what are their responsibilities? They are responsible for leading and motivating the green team, first of all, through regular meetings, brainstorming sessions, and research into new projects the business can undertake. A crucial responsibility for the green manager is to monitor the business green key performance indicators at least once a month to ensure that they are reducing over time. Environmental reports need to be written regularly to inform other team members, customers, and stakeholders of the progress of the program. The green manager also needs to give support to other members of the team, review and improve the program when needed, as well as identifying areas where training is required. Therefore, a key element that supports a successful green program is communication. Communication between the green manager and the green team, but also with other members of the staff, business owners, and customers. Now, communication with all employees of the business can be achieved through a monthly staff email or newsletter, departmental meetings, or notices in the staff notice board, always encouraging more members of the staff to get involved in the green team, because many hands would make the task much easier. It is also very important to give feedback to the business owners and managers on the progress of the program, both positive and negative. Communication should also be regular with the marketing manager to ensure that our business website is up to date and that it includes your environmental policy, that you're doing social media posts, and that general communication with customers is followed. The HR department can also play a vital role supporting green initiatives and motivating the team, as well as ensuring interviews and induction training includes information about the green program, so that before you even hire someone new, they're already aware that they're going to work in a green business. And once the green manager has been chosen, it's time to create a winning green team. And as the green program is going to require for a reduction in energy, waste, and water, the green team should also be divided into sub-groups or sub-teams that can manage each of those areas. So any green team should at very least have an energy leader with an energy team. There should be a strong person from the kitchen on this team, as the kitchen is one of the largest users of energy. A head chef or his deputy would be best. People from other departments like the bar or the restaurant could also be in the energy team. Most importantly, a night porter or night manager. Even though it may seem that energy is not used at night, this is the easiest time to actually save energy. Maintenance man and any other employee that had an interest in carbon reductions and sustainability could be part of the team. Now, same as energy, with the waste team, the large majority of waste, particularly food waste, comes from the kitchen. So it is important to ensure that someone in the kitchen is leading the waste team. Kitchen porters should be all part of the waste team and encouraged to keep an eye on the waste disposal areas and bins to ensure the segregation is working at its best. Housekeeping should also be involved in the waste team if you are running a hotel. Single-use plastics are often widely used in hotel bedrooms, many toiletries, bin liners, coasters, paper cups. So ensure housekeeping and their management team is one of the leaders of the waste team, and the waste segregation is optimized in the housekeeping department. Now, the large majority of water use at a hotel happens in the bedrooms, so it makes sense that, again, the housekeeping team would be leaders of the water team. If the business does not have bedrooms, then perhaps a maintenance person or any senior member of the management team should be in charge of the water team. Kitchen porters and bar and restaurant staff are also important. Now, for the corporate social responsibility team, you could also select team members from the office staff. CSR projects should focus on the development of sustainable relationships with the communities in which your business operates. And this is a very, very important part of sustainability. Now, a common mistake we see time and time again when we meet a business green team is having only head of departments or just the management team sitting around the table. It is so important that junior as well as senior staff are involved in the green team. There could be many undiscovered green gems in your business who've taken a keen interest in sustainability. Junior staff work on the floor all day and they see firsthand how utilities such as energy, waste, and water are used. If your green team is made out of only management, there is a risk that your green program will be viewed as something that managers do, and you will never really be able to spread a culture of sustainability amongst the entire organization. Having regular green team meetings is important to keep open communication. At the beginning of a program, we'd always recommend that there are monthly meetings, but once a green program is established, then you can meet quarterly. Encourage the team to come up with ideas, create a green suggestion box, for example, and give a prize for the best idea every quarter, and also allow ownership of that idea to the person that came up with it. Now, when we're trying something new that involves other people, there can be many barriers that come your way. So the first thing to tell you, don't let the team or yourself become bogged down with negativity from co-workers. There will always be people that refuse to change. Believe me, I've met plenty. And the best advice I can give you here is to listen to them. Don't just kind of put them to the side as negative people, but actually try and understand why they don't want to adopt green initiatives. Issues for them could be a lack of time, for example. Maybe they're too busy or overworked already to engage with something new. It could also be a fear of change. They could be afraid of changes to their routines and their habits, and they may need a little further guidance and explanation on the positive aspects of a green program. And maybe they're actually climate change deniers, and that's okay too. It is their right to have a different opinion than mine or yours. If that is the case, forget about trying to convince them to save the planet and just tell them about the cost savings that you're looking to generate. Green programs are good financially, and so it might be the cost savings that will allow you to bring some people to this side of the fence. It is so important to always bring a positive culture of sustainability. There is nothing negative that can come from embedding green actions into our daily operations. And that's one of the reasons I never criticize anybody for having a different opinion on climate change. Now, to keep that positive culture all the time and to address those issues of those that don't believe in climate change, you can ensure that your green actions become the new standards of procedure within your business. You can write those standards of procedure, you can write them into their job descriptions, you can write opening and closing checklists for all departments, make them part of their daily routines, rather than treating the green program like an add-on thing that we sometimes do. The green program needs to become part of the culture and DNA of the organization. Now, to keep a positive mindset, always listen to your team and ask them to help you identify areas where training is required. I feel that we often don't put enough emphasis on the continuous professional development of our teams. Give the staff incentives to recognize good behavior. For example, you could set up an energy reduction competition across all departments, and the prize is a night out for the winning department. I did this myself, and it was a lot of fun, and it actually saved us a lot of money. And it might seem unfair that you have to reward good behavior, but everyone is motivated for very different reasons. Now, although the general manager or owners of the company may not be fully involved in the green team, they also need to show interest in what actions have been taken to become more sustainable and promote that positive culture around the program. So let's say you have created your team, appointed a green manager, and implemented a 50 Shades Greener method to all your utilities. You're now in a much better position in terms of your sustainability journey, and you should have already seen a reduction of your utilities cost and carbon emissions. So what happens next? It doesn't stop there, obviously. In order to always continue improving on your green journey, they will come to a point where you're as efficient as you can be with your resources, and you cannot reduce them anymore by yourself. Our next recommendation then is to reinvest those savings you have generated into larger capital projects. Maybe it is installing solar panels or getting a rainwater harvesting system, for example. That all these capital projects will see your business reducing its carbon footprint further and also saving more money. 2 hotels in Ireland that I have worked with over the last few number of years have gone on to doing this and have received carbon neutral certification. They're Hotel Doolan and the Falls Hotel. This is a fantastic achievement, and it is possible for every business in the world, because if one can do it, so can everybody else. Now, 2 more areas to look after once you have reduced your environmental impact is greening your supply chain and improving in social sustainability, the care for our people in the industry, which is a really, really important topic right now after the pandemic. So let me just tell you in a couple of minutes the benefits that I see from running a green business. Number 1 is that there is no financial investment required by the business. And this is, I guess, something that many people falsely believe, that running a green business is going to cost you a lot of money. It is actually the opposite, the way I see it. A reduction in the use of resources is going to generate cost savings and reduce your carbon footprint. It's a win-win situation. There is nothing to lose. A green business shows that they care about the environmental impact for the place they live and work in. And this builds trust within the greater community of the business and also the business customers. Being green attracts the carbon conscious consumer. Being green is actually good advertising these days, as long as you're not greenwashing. And that's one thing everybody needs to be very careful, never to greenwash your business. But the last benefit I've seen happening, particularly after the pandemic, is that running a green program with a green team can help with the staff retention, as it gives people motivation to work towards a common goal. So in summary, there are a couple of things I wanted to take away from today. I know I've spoken a lot and I'm looking forward to your questions, but the few things to take away from today is that a green business is simply one that reduces its environmental impact. You can apply the 50 Shades Greener method to your utilities, and it's going to help you set up this environmental management system that we need to run in a building. All green actions are valid. Even the small ones can generate great results and benefit the business in more ways than one. Becoming a greener business does not have to cost anything. It saves money. Your green manager and green team are the biggest allies to make your business green journey as smooth and engaging as possible. Always bring a positive mindset about your green program, even to those members of the team that seem negative. Kill them with kindness, I like to say. Go at your own pace. Sustainability is a long-term commitment, not a short race to the finish line. To continue improving and become more and more sustainable over a period of time. Changing behavior, particularly for us as adults, is one of the most difficult things we can do. So taking it slowly and step by step is the only way to actually create great changes. So if you have not got it started, I would suggest that you don't leave it. Don't leave it for another month or another year or another day even. We can take small actions today in our lives and our businesses that will all add up to positive big changes. Today was just an introduction to environmental sustainability to show you that it is not impossible to be carbon conscious and to run a greener business with a reduced environmental impact. At 50 Shades Greener, as you know, we've partnered with Dalhousie University for the past year, and our Green Business online program is available within their website. Now, this program, it shows you step by step how to implement that environmental management system at any hospitality business. We're currently working on the development of our all industries environmental program, which will be ready this coming winter. And the link to our programs should be in the chat section by now. So thank you. And you can ask me any questions at all you want. I'm going to finish the presentation and the sharing, and I'm going to turn my camera back on.
Okay, thanks, Raquel. It's wonderful. Lots of information there, really practical information. We did get a question from Caitlin Taylor in the chat, and I will read it just to make sure that everyone, it appears that it wasn't shared with everyone, which is entirely fine, but I will read it. So she says, thank you for the informative introduction to 50 Shades Greener, Raquel. I am currently capturing employers' CO2 emissions for heat, electricity, waste, and water. To ensure I am capturing all sources of our emissions, how can emissions from in-house processes that contribute to air pollution be captured, exhaust, etc.? Must these contributors be considered when measuring carbon footprint? And then on a separate note, any advice for purchasing carbon offsets?
Okay. Carbon offsets is a tricky scenario. I'm just going to give you my opinion on that one. Just regarding the emissions that contribute to air pollution, no, they are not normally calculated when anyone calculates carbon emissions. When you calculate carbon emissions, you can calculate emissions on a scope 1, 2, and 3. Scopes 1 and 2 are direct emissions of the business, and they are exactly the ones you've enumerated there. That is your electricity and your heating, your waste and water. The rest will be considered indirect emissions, which at the moment, not many people are calculating. And I actually can't even help you with that, but very good question, because I am going to learn more about it, Caitlin. And if you want to put me your email address, I'll do some research and I'll get back to you on that one. But no, if the goal for you is to achieve carbon neutrality, you don't need to calculate emissions from exhausts or anything like that. And just in terms of offsetting, gosh, this is a tricky area. I have done extensive research on carbon offsetting, and I was highly disappointed myself by what I found. It transpires that a lot of the tree planting projects that are normally advertised to buy carbon offsets in the Amazon forest, for example, half of them are non-existent. They actually don't exist. And a large majority of the ones that exist are actually not run efficiently. There is forests that are being planted, and within a couple of years, they're again being devastated to create more agriculture in South America. I would always say, try and invest in a carbon offsetting project that is local to your area as much as possible, at a very least national, that is not somewhere far away that you can't even visit the project. I would suggest that you visit the project. I also think when it comes to tree planting, there is so many risks associated with it. When you're buying a carbon offset, you offset 1 ton of carbon for every tree that they're planting for you. That's the math that they do to give you that accreditation. But what happens is that they're planting brand new baby trees, and a tree will never offset a ton of carbon emissions until it's 20 to 25 years old. So we're actually offsetting something that is going to take away that carbon footprint from the atmosphere in 25 years, not right now. And that's something that not many people are aware of. I always recommend my clients to offset in projects that might not buy you credits, but that that you're doing the good thing. And this is mainly around soil restoration and health of the ocean. I think that is such an important one that we keep forgetting about. Our oceans actually used to absorb 70% of the carbon emissions of the planet, and that's been reduced to 25 to 30% in the later years because the oceans are so unhealthy right now. We all know the plastic pollution problem, but even things like, we're losing all our seaweed and algae species are disappearing every single month worldwide under the ocean. And that's just creating that the ocean is not able to offset the amount of carbon emissions that it used to do. So always try and look out for projects that while they might not buy you that carbon credit, you're doing the right thing. That you're doing something that will make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry for sounding so negative about tree planting. I just think there is too many corporations that are getting away right now with, emitting so much pollution and then just buying 10,000 trees and claiming they're carbon neutral. And it's just simply not true. It's just the smoke and mirrors.
Mm. Thanks, Raquel. Thank you for your perspective on that. And I welcome other questions from the chat here. I did include some information on the courses, and you can visit that dal.ca link. It will list the courses, and I've also just listed them there, and a variety of lengths. All of the courses can be taken at your own pace online, so lots of flexibility there for you to complete it when you have time. And also range in price. So I would encourage you to explore the options and find one that best suits you. And Caitlin has included her email address there. So that's wonderful. Thanks so much, Caitlin. Any other questions that we can answer? I'll just pause here for a minute in case anyone's furiously typing.
I was either very good or very bad. If I was very good, nobody had questions.
I would love actually just if you could, and perhaps this is an unfair question, but give a summary of the courses that are offered through Dalhousie and how they might be different, because there are varying lengths and varying costs, as I had mentioned. So would love if you might be able to offer a summary on them.
Yeah, so our signature course, I guess you could call it, is the Green Business Program. That is the full 50-step process from start to finish, creating the green team, appointing the green manager, measuring emissions, and then reducing, and even includes marketing at the end, or how to market your efforts in the right way. So that's kind of the full course that we offer, and that's available with Dalhousie. But then we also wanted to be able to break it down, because for some businesses, they might be aware that they have a waste issue more than an energy issue or a water issue. So there's 3 kind of a standalone courses: energy, waste, and water. And they're all available through Dalhousie University, and they kind of go through the same process of applying the 50 Shades Greener method, but concentrating on that utility in particular. So if somebody's still not too sure, whether this is for me or not, it is a good idea maybe to start with one of the smaller courses, so that you can see how, the courses work. You can apply everything that you learn at home, and then you can make the decision to join us in the larger course. But of course, I would always say wastewater and energy are all as important as each other. So we should always strive really to reduce all 3. And we are, we have developed more modules for the Green Business Programme, which we will update Dalhousie with as well, in social sustainability, green procurement. So yeah, we've a lot more coming down the line in the next month.
All right, wonderful. Thanks so much, Raquel, for that. And I'm wondering, are you able to speak to you're based out of Ireland, but I'd love for those joining us, and I imagine a lot are local to Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, and certainly within Canada. But can you speak to just kind of the global or international application of the courses and the methodologies of your business?
Yeah, so here in Ireland, we are now fully funded by the Irish government. The Irish government has taken our courses and offer them completely free of charge to any hospitality business in the island of Ireland. They did this last year throughout the pandemic, and I guess that was, to support the hospitality industry, which has gone through a really, really terrible time. All industries have, but hospitality in particular has suffered a lot. And it's interesting because when I used to speak to potential clients before, they always said, oh yes, I know I have to do something on sustainability, I just don't have the time right now. And of course, the pandemic is one thing that gave us all, and that was a huge amount of time. So the amount of people that joined the program throughout the lockdown, it really helped them that when they opened up, they already had that knowledge that what they needed to implement. We're also in Ireland are working with the government because we have a schools program for secondary school students. So when I say the carbon emissions calculations are easy, we're teaching 15, 16-year-old kids how to calculate their home carbon emissions. That's how easy it is. If a 15-year-old can do it, surely all adults can do it. Then we're working with the UK. We're working with MCI, who are the official accommodation providers for all the world leaders for COP26. So in there, we are working with hotels. We want that all the hotels where the world leaders are going to stay during COP26 actually are able to calculate their emissions and publish them and be transparent about where we all are right now. Because it's not about saying, oh, well, you're doing worse than me. It's really about saying, this is how I'm doing, and now I'm going to commit to reduce that. We have a couple of contracts in London with the London Mayor's Office for a couple of local councils. So again, it seems that we are more working with governments than with private business to business at the moment. And that's mainly because I guess in Europe, they are putting quite an emphasis now on bringing environmental education. That is one of my goals. Environmental education should be free and available to all, at all ages, at all stages of your life, from primary schools through to third level education. And that's what I'm campaigning very hard for, whether it's my programs or any other programs, environmental education should be in our curriculums for all industries. And then we've just opened up a project in the Middle East and in India. So no students there yet, but again, we are pushing the doors again with the governments there, just so that we can do something for society in those countries as well. So that's so far. And in Spain, obviously, we're about to close a contract as well for a pilot project for 100 hotels in Spain. So that should be very interesting, going back to my home ground when you have to translate everything back to Spanish.
Right. And so, yeah, and you've answered my question with so much detail, and just speaks to really the application of, that it's not your methodologies and your courses are not specific to one geography or one climate, that they're really, there's broad application. I was so happy to see those who had registered for this webinar were really from, and you had also made the comment, we're really from so many different industries. And so really delighted to see not only those from the tourism and hospitality sector, but also those from aerospace and defense and education, because certainly those industries, those organizations would possibly have someone working in environmental health and safety or in some kind of capacity. So I do notice that there are some people who have to run. So thank you for letting us know that that you had to run, and appreciate you joining us. Any final questions? Feel free to add them in the chat, and we'll certainly include the website for 50 Shades Greener, so you can find out more information. You can find out more about Raquel and her team. And Raquel, I'll just pass it off to you for any kind of final words before we wrap up here.
Yeah, I guess just to say that, you know, yes, we do kind of market ourselves as environmental education, mainly for hospitality, but what we teach is sustainability within the built environment, you know, or a schools program for kids. It's not a lot different than it is for hotels. It is the very same principles. It is the same methods. It's the same processes. It's about becoming energy, water, and waste efficient within our own lives. And that is something that every single one of us can improve, me included. I have taken smallest steps to change my lifestyle over the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm still not fully there. And that's kind of what I meant when I said it's not a race. And, you know, nobody should be criticized for maybe those things that they're doing that are not so environmentally conscious, because we all have limits. We all have, you know, things that we need to adjust. And so I always say, as long as you're trying, you know, maybe try and make a change every single month or every single week. Just put it in your head. I even have a calendar of changes that I need to make. And, you know, slowly but surely we'll hopefully all get there. And I know, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, there is no time. Quite possibly there is no time, but, you know, we can only change what we can change within ourselves. And the only thing we need to do is to want to do it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Raquel. So appreciate your time, sharing some of your knowledge, your experience, and really appreciate everyone who's joined us today. And as I said at the beginning, we will send out an email before the end of our workday in Atlantic Canada here, and that will include a recording of today's webinar, along with links to the courses, a link to 50 Shades Greener, and just really delighted that you were able to join us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, you too, and thank you everyone for taking time to listen to me.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.